Alright everyone, now it's time for day 3 of Thomasmassie's epic cope, because of course he voted against censoring Adam Smith because they included a fine. Now, there is one way in which Thomasmassie is not being disingenuous. Mostly my problem with his point here is about focus. It's about the branding of why you voted nay to censor and fine Adam Schiff, rather than your vote itself based on the core principle you now allude to. The problem is that you throw in several additional excuses that are complete and utter fucking horseshit, easily proven horseshit. I've analyzed that, but I'll recap for people who didn't see the original video. And now you're taking the bait. You are literally sparring on Twitter with a dude named Cat Turd. We're going to read the actual tweet. Cat Turd 2. You are a cowardly, spineless traitor. You think if we give America first, you think we give a fuck about a censor with zero punishment. Sorry, when I see AF, usually I think of America first. You're a bad joke. Loser. Now Thomasmassie decided to respond. Now in context, Cat Turd is one of the most recognizable front-loaded trolls on Twitter, arguably the entire internet at this time. So this is a prodigy troll that has managed to get national news media attention based on shitposting, mostly. Look at the username, then look at what Thomasmassie decided to say. He's trying to raise up here and get a big pee-pee about it. I don't know how well that's going to work for him. His response, looks like I stepped on a cat turd, and then he has the crying cat emoji and the laughing with tears emoji. Tom, aren't you a little bit old for this? You know, you have to wear a suit to work. You think that maybe you could avoid sparring with Cat Turd on Twitter? Oh, Christ. I'm having a good morning, of course. Now, I can make lame dad jokes all day, so I've got to be high energy. Here's the thing. Here's my analysis. Thomasmassie's central initial premise for voting against fining Adam Schiff is that he's got a separate case where he's arguing against Pelosi having fined him and other members of Congress for avoiding metal detectors and for mask etiquette, basically, over time. The problem is that Massie dragged out 2 excuses for that no vote because he was getting backlash, because of course it's not a good look not to want to fine Adam Schiff. You've got a largely Republican base. A lot of them want retaliatory justice against Schiff for lying to the American public for several years. A lot of them are Trump supporters, and they're noticing that you endorsed DeSantis. Adam Schiff was lying about and targeting specifically Trump for the most part, and you were one of the people that decided to cross aisle. It's a precarious situation to be in when, you know, you'll be running for re-election. Now, his central premise makes sense. He could have come out and said, look, if I'm going to argue against Congress being able to levy fines at all, I'm a total hypocrite if I vote in favor of this. Fuck Adam Schiff. Return a clean bill that doesn't have the fine. We'll censor him, or we'll figure out some other punishment that's okay. He could have come out and said that. You could have encapsulated it in a tweet. It would have been easy. Instead, he decided to invoke the 8th and 27th Amendments, neither of which is broadly applicable to the situation. The 8th Amendment has to do with excessive fines, but where that cuts off is not a legislative matter, it's a judicial one, you see. Thomasmassie can claim that $16 million is too much for having lied to the American public to influence political elections in part for several years. That's okay, but that's just, literally, it's just your opinion, man. You're not a Supreme Court justice. You don't run a federal court, so it's beyond your particular purview. You can have whatever opinions you want, but that wasn't a reason to not simply vote in favor of it. Let Schiff file a suit of some sort and take it before a court. Maybe Schiff wins, maybe he doesn't win. Whatever. That's perfectly fine. The 27th has to do with the alteration of congressional salaries. The purpose of the bill is quite clearly to prevent Congresspeople from voting themselves a raise in the current session. So you can vote for a raise for Congress, but then you have to get reelected to get your raise. This is a way for the voters to be able to, potentially, it doesn't happen, but in theory, they can stop greedy members of Congress from being reelected and then put the genie back in the bottle. It just, people are too non-activistic for that to ever have actually happened. The 27th Amendment says nothing about fining people. A fine is not an adjustment of salary. If I make $100,000 and then I get fined $10,000, it's not like my salary was reduced to $90K. I made $100K. I just had to forfeit some of that money because, I don't know, I did something wrong at the workplace, I broke some law, whatever. I've been fine. It is not an adjustment of salary. How dare you even proclaim that a single one of your voters would take the 27th Amendment argument at face value? The third insinuation that Massie made, and this is even more disingenuous, is that the Democrats will misuse this power if we unleash this can of worms on the nation, if we begin fining people, members of Congress, for whatever reason. It doesn't matter, anything under the sun. If we punish anyone in any way, we will be punished as well. Those who live by the sword die by the sword. Okay, I'm amenable to the basic concept. The problem is that the Dems have already been fucking doing it. You didn't need the elaboration. You could have just literally come out and said, look, I oppose Congress fining people at all. I'm trying to establish that it's never allowed. Well, that's fine. Some people may think it's disingenuous. Some people may assume that it's just TDS. It's perfectly fine, though. You've explained yourself sufficiently. You didn't need to get into unrelated amendments and completely unrelated topics and those that are false. The Dems already opened the can of worms long ago and have been abusing you with fines. You didn't need to therefore try to scare your voting base by pretending that the Democrats magically inherit that power if you utilize it when they're already using it. That Pandora's box opened long ago. So why the hell are you trying to lie to your voting base? I have a problem at this point with Thomasmassie. Not because of the central premise, although I think that Schiff shouldn't even be allowed to fucking be in Congress at this point. He basically committed treason. That's okay if you don't want to fine him. Fucking do something. They're going to reintroduce the censoring motion. That's a strongly worded letter. It means absolutely nothing. By the way, if you're bringing up the 8th and you have excessive fining on the mind, would you accept a $500,000 fine? Certainly, if someone in a congressional role can pay that. Adam Schiff can write a booklet tomorrow, sell 10 million copies to China, and easily be able to pay the 16 million anyway. So who fucking gives a shit? The man can make limitless amounts of money. He's a unipartyist, a deep stater. He has banker buddies and stuff. They'll write a check for him. They'll cover it. They're not going to let him sink or swim. They're going to give him a hand back into the boat. It doesn't matter what you do to the... You could fine him $160 million. He'd find the money. He's certainly... the justice system's so warped and perverted at this point, he wouldn't go to jail even if he ignored it. So what's the fucking point about complaining about the situation? Now you're fighting with Cat Turd. You're fighting with someone who is one of the foremost trolls of the generation. And a lot of us other troll-minded people happen to support Cat Turd in this. Be careful where you tread, dude. You're going to end up getting ass blasted on every post you make. People will be fucking around with you for months to come. I don't know, maybe he got bored. He got bored, and so he decided to just fuck around, in order to alleviate his boredom. Happy Father's Day, Thomasmassie. Don't know if you have any kids. Maybe you should ask them the next time you spar with a troll online, whether that's a good idea. I don't know if you have any. If you do, have them be your unofficial tech advisors. Because you're going down a rather dark and stupid path right now. You're blundering. That's about all. Peace out.